My business is 100% driven by word of mouth. I had such an amazing opportunity when I was in San Francisco. I got to start with a startup when it was small that didn't fail, that actually grew. And it became a name that people knew, that when I first started working there, they were like, what, who, where? Like, I don't know anything about that. And then by the time I left, it was being mentioned regularly in TV shows and on news, in comedy skits.
Yeah.
Like, people knew it. And how could that not have been enough was what I was having this existential crisis. Like, how come I wasn't happy there? What was wrong with that? It checks every single box of what I should have wanted. But there was just something that wasn't there. And that was what I found once I came to Japan, which is interesting and it's hard to put into words, but that existential crisis kind of went away. And the first 6 months were language school, self-evaluation, and building a business plan that I thought would work. And of course, my background being in market research, I didn't start in leisure tourism. I started doing focus groups and inspiration trips for product teams. So my connections were with businesses back in the States that wanted to come to Japan to figure out how their shoes could be better sold, or like who should their target market be, or how does their target market connect. So that's what I first did. And then it slowly morphed, because experiential travel, whether it be for a business or a leisure person, actually looks pretty similar. It just is like where you're doing it might be different. And so slowly but surely through word of mouth, I spread into the leisure tourism market as well.
So when you were developing that, you didn't have any plan of jumping on the English teaching route, or starting with maybe like a large, tourism company in Japan and learning the ropes?
Luckily, well, not luckily, but I think of having worked where I worked during that time as like an MBA. It was an entrepreneurial school, and they were cranking out individuals like, you need to be a problem solver. You need to do things individually. You need to be scrappy. And I so enjoyed that process and watching a vision come to life that I felt the opportunity to create my own company once I came here. And one of the other big benefits of Japan is that you get healthcare. And so I didn't have that same fear that, if I don't work for another organization, I wouldn't be able to have that security. So that's a big difference. That makes it maybe a little bit easier to start a company here than, say, in America.
As a Japanpreneur, what's one move that you've made that's played the biggest role in your success?
Focusing on the quality of the experience. So my business is 100% driven by word of mouth. And it's amazing. I have these family trees of folks, so it started with this person and they referred so-and-so, and that family tree has just grown. And I think that people felt confident to refer me to their friends because I focus so much on their experience. And so I come from, that IDEO, user-centered design background, and I just applied that to the design for these people's trips and the design of, who are you outside of when you're a traveler, and how can we incorporate that into your journey? And I think that it might have taken more time. And maybe if you looked at the cost benefit analysis at that time when business was slower, to spend so much time on one individual might not have been, it's like, oh, you're losing money. But it was such a good investment. And I think that it's paid off, tenfold down the line.
The tourism industry in Japan seems extremely competitive with, boutique places, as well as the major corporations who have a lot of advertising budget and that type of thing. But so I guess, how do you and your business stand out from the crowd and get attention?
I think one of the reasons why there's been some conflict between local residents and tourists is because some of the larger companies don't take into consideration the sheer number of people that they're sending on a destination. And, that over tourism, it's something that happens all around the world. You see it in Venice, you see it in Barcelona, you see it here in Kyoto. But that kind of conflict, that if you're not on the ground or if you're not talking to the providers regularly, you don't even think about. You're just like, all right, booked another trip, sending them there. And I think living on the ground and, walking the streets regularly and having a personal relationship with the folks that I either refer somebody to or visit myself makes a big difference in the goodwill that's generated and in the individual's experience when they do come and stay with me. So we haven't made an effort to advertise in any way. I do emphasize relationships. So for me, my guests become my friends. It's an amazing, I feel very lucky that I've gotten to even travel outside of Japan with some of the individuals that I met first by being their host here. Yeah, it was so fun. And every year I send a nengajo, which is, such a, in Japan it might not seem as much fun, but for me it's so fun. I plan a specific theme for it. My friend who's a professional photographer, she lends me some of her time and we go out and we take photos, and then I write everybody an individual note and I send it to them. And I'm also a huge fan of postcards. So, with previous clients, I send them postcards. So I think that maybe the way that I have, tried to stand out is via emphasizing the relationship over the transaction in my own little gestures and expressions.
Right. Very personal.